has fought relentlessly, often against, I have to sadly say, significant forces in the other direction, for better regulation of the information society, from open research, from open access, through to the copyright agenda, through to telecommunications. Commissioner Kroes has been at the forefront, I would say, of this commission in terms of pushing the kind of policies and approach. And it's one of the hardest places to do that. And I think in that sense we have a huge debt. So it's my privilege to be inviting Commissioner Kroes up. And I would like actually almost us to begin by having a huge hand of applause, just of thanks for this.
Good morning, everybody. I really feel a bit ashamed for too kind all the words, for it's just fun to get this opportunity to do it together with you and with quite a couple of other ones to move Europe forward in this great, exciting challenge. And I was just thinking, I do have 2 grandchildren. They are Americans, they are living in San Francisco. The eldest is 6 years old, and we are Skyping every Sunday afternoon. More fun for the grandma than for the kids, but okay. Having said that, at a certain moment, the eldest was asking me, Nene, what is your age, by the way? And I said, I'm 72. And she said, you are still alive? So I am in a hurry, and I really... Someone was asking me, why are you coming over for in person? Well, anyhow, I take this opportunity to get food for thought, and still in office. So some people are thinking that we are démissionnaire. No way, I'm paid till the 1st of November, so I will deliver till the 1st of November. And after last night, I think it can be a little bit longer. So let them fight. So we go on, and still something to do, so to say. What is inspiring for me, and that is out of my heart, you have long championed openness. And it is not just for a fashionable issue, so to say. It's always attractive to get something. But you are filling in. You are just following up when you are saying it is all about openness. And that has long inspired, but not only inspired. It has informed, it has motivated me, and we are in a dialogue, and we are feeding each other. So sometimes it takes a bit longer, and certainly in Brussels, sometimes I think you need eternal life, and I don't believe in eternal life, but anyhow, you are keeping us awake, and you should go on for that. And that is not the rebellion way, for you have arguments, so you don't need to be the street fighters or whatever. It can be just pushing as a dialogue with information, openness, so to say. In previous years, I was only being able to send my regards and what have you via the video, but now I'm here, and already now I got contacts with a couple of you that I think is worthwhile to come over to Berlin. And Carl, member of my cabinet, and I were already discussing what could we do in September for such an open connection between a couple of spots in the world, and then find out what is the challenge, what is the real challenge. For we are aware that every decision takes time, no doubt about that, but we have to be aware that the technology and that the private initiatives, that the entrepreneurship is not waiting for just when we have finished. So keep us pushing and keep us going. For being in the room with you is a pleasure, but it is more than a pleasure. It is indeed food for thought. Let me start with a question, for that is not bad in an open dialogue. Why should we be open? And I think there are 3 compelling reasons for that. Number 1, transparency. Also, seems to be a fashionable term. Transparent, who is against? But being concrete when and how transparency is at stake, and how you fill in, whether it's how your council spends your money, and rightly said, with a bit of transparency sometimes, and not on purpose, it seems to be absolutely crazy. But silos, and well, I can talk about silos. I can, even in the own family, it's quite often silos. And it's not on purpose, but let's protect our courtyard. And we are doing our utmost, you are doing your utmost. If you get out of my courtyard, you know all that type of stories. But being honest and being open means absolutely better information. And I am aware that that means better decisions, and that means better governance. So there is a step-by-step better situation. Number two, it's fairness. It is about giving taxpayers back what they are already paid for. And that for me is quite crucial. I don't want to be in a position that when I'm walking in the street, and sometimes I'm recognized, and certainly in the country I pretend to know best, and people are asking, what are you doing with our money? It's quite a bit of money that Brussels is spending, and it's not about the amount, but what are you doing with it? From scientific results to traffic information, what could be more sensible than that? And most of all, it is about innovation. Well, who is saying it to whom? The more you share ideas, the more others can build on them. It's a new way of operating and thinking, and that is a lesson learned very early on in my mandate. I still remember when I, after my first term, got by surprise the second term, but that is another story. I went the second day with my second portfolio. I went to Madrid, I went to the campus party, and it was in the agenda of the commissioner responsible and so on. I didn't have a clue where I was going. Well, I know Madrid, of course, but I didn't have a clue, campus party and so on. It was quite fascinating. It was 1,000 European youngsters, the youngest 14 years old and the eldest 30 years old, all camping in the big all blue tent where one person could get for sleep, and a gathering with all big names, and I didn't have a clue, so I was asking my member of cabinet, who is that? And well, I got the information and I was getting involved. At a certain moment I was sitting in a group of youngsters and young entrepreneurs, and two of them, both 14-year-old, they were discussing with each other their new invention, and 14 years old. And they were swapping their IDs on a new app. And I said to one, you are crazy. You are feeding your competitor. Come on. And he looked at me, and I will never forget that face. And he said, Madam Commissioner, you are old-fashioned. And that was exactly what was at stake. I was from a generation where you protect your invention and why you try to get business out of that. And now it is sharing and joining, for the result is better. So you have both a better business, so to say. So anyhow, I think that information can long sit in dusty drawers, but it only gains value when opened up. Turning data into jobs, dust into goals. And by the way, if someone is asking me, what is your biggest worry in Europe now? It is the youth unemployment. I think it's absolutely unacceptable that in certain member states, but in all member states it's too high, that in certain member states above 60% the youngsters, no job. I'm not talking about a period no job, but never ever a job. No way that that is acceptable. In my opinion, that is really an attack on a democracy. You are talking about people of 18 or 20 years old who can't plan a family, who can't look for an apartment or whatever. So we have to act. And then, I'm always saying in the college, for example, or in a council, we do have opportunities in this area, in this new technology. There are the opportunities, by the way, and thanks heaven, those youngsters are not all waiting till politicians are giving the solution, for then you are dead and buried, so to say. But they are taking their own initiative, they are starting their business, absolutely fascinating what's going on, here in Berlin, but also in London, in Cambridge, in Amsterdam, in Paris, and name it, but also in the southern part of Europe, in Athens, in Madrid, and name it. They are starting their own business. App developers, millions of them at the moment. And every day, already here in Berlin, 1,000 new initiatives. So it's great. I'm proud to have delivered a more open Europe. Yes, we are not there, but we have delivered openness for public administrations, step by step, and shaking up. The EU law now gives a genuine right to every European to reuse open public information. Don't accept when it is no, for it is in the law, and from any administration in any EU country at any level. So without complex licensing restrictions and without high cost, in almost all the cases, it can only ever be at marginal cost, and in the digital age, first basically means for free. Otherwise, something has gone very, very wrong. And knock on the door. The EU member states now have 1 more year to pass those rules into national law. And today, the European Commission is that are starting to get it and starting to realize that being as open as quite simply part of their function as a public body. But there is further to go. Countries transpose new laws and start to implement them. And I hope you will be behind them, advising them, encouraging them, and inspiring. You are underestimating what your role is. It is about inspiring. It is about not giving up. You wouldn't sit here if you were the type of giving up. You are indeed those of the European population that never gives up, and you have to push those who have to act, so to say. We want to work with you and see you work together across borders and languages. And we have set up Erasmus for Open Data to support that, starting with an event in Nantes, in France, in September. But if you have an idea, let's make that promise for more we could do, and then let us know. Second, we have delivered for open science. Sharing and openness have always been an essential part of science, helping the community examine, compare, and of course learn. Now we have new ways to do that, like never before. And that is why open access to science can be good for the citizens, can be good for scientists, and can be good for the society. This trend comes not from political instruction, but from the bottom up, from scientists themselves. And that is as it should be. But it is a trend we can support. And I certainly am. I will support that trend till the last day. Horizon 2020 will offer 80 billion euros for research and innovation, our biggest ever investment. And every resulting publication will be openly and freshly available. Step forward. Plus, we are making big step forward, opening up more research data, and that makes also a lot of sense. Of course, ours is not the only research funding program in town. And we are calling on member states to open up their national programs, and then it makes sense adding that. Slowly but surely they are, so they can see that it makes sense. Across Europe and beyond, countries are realizing the benefits and the payback, and that makes sense. And that is just the beginning. I'd like to see citizens not just informed, that's a good step, no doubt about the results of the science, but involved and engaged right from the start. Better participation for improved impact and science that delivers for society. And that is the promise of open digital science, with implications for assessment, for review, for access, and for more. And now you have a chance to participate. And please participate. Our consultation on science and transition is open until the end of September. Take your chance, take the opportunity, and have your say on the future of science, and go to the site. And the site is tiny.com open digital science. And start by just looking at all the other ones. They are certainly in the program this afternoon. 2 of my best collaborators, they will just give more information. And third, we are delivering openness for the internet itself. Absolutely for too long, the telco operator has had the right to decide what you can or can't access online and breach net neutrality. Absolutely out of date. It is former century and it's not acceptable anymore. So I've proposed new rules to safeguard the open internet, and the open internet for all. I don't want to be faced with a population, with a society of the haves and the have-nots. Everybody should have open internet. And that means, great. And that means that there is an end of blocking and an end of throttling of services for the first time ever across the EU. And I know for certain that you all have the experience I have now and then to be blocked during a call is absolutely irritating, to put it in a nice way. After a couple of years in Brussels, I'm getting a bit of diplomatic language, but it's not me. I sincerely hope that national governments can agree it as a priority for our connected continent and will take the decision before the end of office of Barroso II. And finally, the best investment we can make in our future is education. That too must be open. Open education. It is a crime when teachers are prevented from freely sharing open educational resources. How can you explain it that that still happens? There's so much we can achieve by making every classroom digital. Education that is not of the pack, but made to measure for every class and every child. And that is what we want to achieve through open education. That shows how copyright rules need to change, but it is just one example. Those rules were designed, and that is fascinating. On one hand, it's fascinating to realize that it was just designed for a different age, more about a limitation and control than talking about creativity and freedom. Holding back ideas, and that is what is at stake from open education. The data mining copyright needs urgent reform. I could go on about the many ways to be open. Open standards, open source. My own website, by the way, now runs on it, I'm proud to say. Open building blocks for new apps. There shall soon be 80 million available for that, euros, for that under our Future Internet Initiative, and so on. But the point I want to make is the mainstream. The topics you are discussing are no longer abstract, just someone's hobby or just the just talked about in conferences and in chat rooms. Big data is used out there, changing lives, changing indeed topics of the political agenda. It isn't something scary. It isn't something that is not your cup of tea. It is every citizen, whatever age, whatever location, it is everyone's cup of tea. Data isn't a four-letter word, nor is open, by the way. it's not just a four-letter word. It's something Europe needs to embrace. Take the opportunity. There is a whole generation that's grown up with a new open approach. They are starting to make their voices heard. And people are listening. People are interested. People know quite a bit. Don't underestimate. Sometimes politicians are underestimated what is the level of their constituency. They are quite clever people. They know what is at stake. Last week I met the Prime Minister of Italy, Matteo Renzi. He gets it. He is not of my political color, but that's not important. I don't mind. He is young, so he can still change after a while. But he gets it talking about what is at stake in the digitization. He is committed to the digital agenda, and as he takes the lead, he is now the European presidency, Italy. I am quite pleased. Others, like Commission President-designated Jean-Claude Juncker, are talking about this too. He mentioned that he will be a digital president, so let's wait for, I can't judge yet if he is using all the stuff. Okay. But anyhow, you can't say that you are digital if you are not filling in and if it's only words. And that is, by the way, what is at stake, and I would like to take this opportunity. The team of Juncker is not only about a digital president and my successor, so to say. Juncker needs to take into account that the whole Commission needs to be in a different mindset. It is not anymore there is one for the digital agenda. Every commissioner needs to have that link in the opportunities and the challenges of the digitization of our society. So let's make sure that all those nice words, that they stick to it, and we need a change. We need a change of mindset. So, and I always say, age is a fixation, so that doesn't make for me an argument, but it is about what type of mindset. Every lawmaker, every public body, every vested interest who wants to push back, we need to convince them there is a better way of doing, an open way. But I can't do that alone, and I need your help. You are the best ambassadors. You are the best I can think of. I've been long inspired by the energy of this movement for open knowledge. And again, if I could make you a sir or and give you a knighthood, I would do it on the spot, but we don't have them. And I will just back all those who can. I've long been inspired. I've been inspired by the commitment of this community. Most of all, I've been inspired by your positive difference. It can make a positive difference to people's lives across Europe. It really can make a difference. And if that is at stake, why waiting? For we don't have too much time, so to say. Well, anyhow, in the couple of months that are still ahead, I'm intending to fight for those principles and what I was mentioning already. If they are paying me, then I'm delivering. And even if they are not paying me, I'm delivering, I can assure you. I know that the fight won't stop. I know you will continue to make that case and that your voice, very important one, and your message will continue to be heard. For your message is based on facts and figures. It is about giving information, and that is the level that we need. Let's show every citizen the open opportunity on offer and embrace it together. And at the end of the day, you have more than 500 million people backing your movement. Thank you.
I'll ask you a few questions.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, just to say on questions, it's the similar process yesterday, so please come down to the mic if you're going to want to ask questions. Just while people are, I'm going to try and queue a few of you up, so if there's anyone else, please come on over. But so that's amazing. I mean, I think one of the things that, by the way, just strikes me is I just hope that when that I can be as energized as you and as passionate as you still when I am 72. So that's actually my dream right now, I think, because I keep doing this kind of stuff. Wow, we've got a lot of questions, so let's get going.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Claus. I'm German national, and I have a few points when we talk about data transparency, because let's see, I see the European Union as a central place that could help people even against their own governments. And so, for example, when we talk about data transparency, every year 55 billion euro disappear in secret channels when we talk about farm subsidies. And only maybe 10% of this data is published.
Million people using
Billion euro disappear in secret channels when we talk about farm subsidies. And only maybe 10% of this data is published. So where is the open data there? And I can't believe that this is just a reason because we want to protect people, individuals' rights. So you could anonymize them. When we talk about enforcement of European Union laws, I personally have been, since 2009, at 15 hearing days at the UK High Court, as litigant in person, and trying to enforce human rights laws. Since 2010, your colleague Viviane Reding is informed about it. Nothing happened, and in 2014, in March 2014, I had a petition speech at the European Parliament, at a petition commission, and then one of the MPs asked the commission representative, have you contacted the member state? And she said, no, never. And another point.
No, I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah.
That's great. We can also grab people off. That's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Is that okay? Just because time is tight. So the next, can I have the next question?
Okay. So my point is. Okay, sorry.
Okay. Very good. That's brilliant. I'm sorry to be so tough.
Tim Hubbard, Open Knowledge Advisory Council. You've talked about copyright reform, about text mining and things like that, but more generally about intellectual property reform. There's never been a case where an intellectual property regulation has been removed. The European Union, of course, sponsored the database directive, the database rights. That hasn't been adopted elsewhere in the world. There has actually been research within the Commission which shows it hasn't been effective in terms of what it was meant to do, and it's a barrier to open data. So is there any opportunity to remove an intellectual property regulation? We have managed to get WIPO to adopt a development agenda and think about WIPO being innovation rather than just more and more intellectual property regulations. So what's the chance of deleting something?
I'm going to take one more question, if that's okay, and the next two I'll wait on.
Helen Derbyshire from the advocacy group Access Info Europe. Commissioner Kroes, thank you very much for your excellent speech here and for all that you've done to promote open data. I've just had a quick look at the Open Data Portal, which currently has 6,783 data sets on it. The most viewed include an elevation map of Europe, the total length of railway lines, ICT user skills, a translation memory, whatever that is, and generation of waste by sector. All very useful data for certain people. However, I just requested from the European Commission a couple of months ago the mission and representation expenses of the outgoing commissioners. I asked for a detailed breakdown of these expenses by commissioner, and I've been denied access to that information. I was given a global figure for each of 2012 and 2013, about 3.5 million on mission expenses globally, and about $500,000 on representation for all the commissioners. And I was told that to have any more detail would infringe the personal integrity and privacy of the commissioners. So when we're talking about open data, and I've appealed this, and it may even result in I'm working with a lawyer, it may even result in a court case. But the point is clear. The kind of information that we need in order to be able to really hold governments or the European Union accountable, in order to be able to scrutinise, as you said, how public money is being spent, is not always available on open data portals. And this is the cultural shift, the political will challenge that we face. And I just wondered, to put a specific question to you, Commissioner, whether you think in the remaining 2 months you could do anything to address this particular issue of expenses, at least for your expenses, to kind of set a standard which we hope can be followed with the outgoing Commission and the incoming Commission. Thank you.
No, it's okay.
Just to be fair, I do think the generation of waste, maybe is more important than the Commissioner's expense. Okay.
Starting with the last question, you are asking me on a personal basis if I would be willing and able to give more clarity. Number one, if I'm saying that I am a big believer in open information, also for the taxpayer, so then I need to be consistent. Then I can't stop when it is closer to me. So no hesitation, and for me it's new that let me say, I was aware, and I'm aware, that we are just giving information about the spending of all my colleagues and myself. And I thought that it was split in, perhaps not if I took 3 coffee or 1 coffee for another one, but that it was anyhow split in traveling and making clear and so on. But no reason for me to be not open on my own spendings, and I can assure you that I'm careful. And the only point is, if I'm doing it, then the other ones are certainly forced to. So perhaps it takes a little bit of time, but I will do my utmost that is made. For I don't like to protect that type of issues. For you are perhaps thinking more than what is at stake. I'll never forget that at a certain stage, one of the ministers in the country I know best bought a sunglass for it, and well, I think that he shouldn't pay that from his expenses, he should pay it from his salary, so to say, but okay. So we will act, but I also agree, and I'm not saying, so put this aside, but make first things first, the important things first. And I'm also surprised that there is not that much in the open information. There should be much more. Anyhow, in our field we can deliver much more. If that's not done, then that will be one of the first points we will take care of. Then the first question, data transparency. I think that we have to be open and honest in what we are pleading and what we are at the end of the day implementing. And that too often reasonings like it is security, it is taking privacy, blah, 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 as an argument why you are not doing it. It should be the other way. It should be normally spoken, complete transparent, and only if there is a real reason, but then you have to be explicit why not, then it should be. By the way, we were not helped that much with the court decision. For it, it was, of course, for a lot of people to say, hippie, hooray, now you hear it from the European courts. But if a judgment is not that clear that you can really implement all your own measures that has to be taken on a national level and on a European level on that judgment, then it is quite difficult to find out. And so we are not there, and we should take into account, and certainly talking about the human rights, we have the responsibility. The copyright, and I was touching upon that one during our press conference this morning, and just mentioning to you, I'm not a person that is quite easily in a mood to be frustrated, for that doesn't help, and There is one area that I'm really frustrated, and that is copyright. And I have to add a couple of sentences to that. From day one on, I mentioned, and I hope I prove, that copyright has a real function. Copyright is indeed organizing a fair remuneration for an artist or a creator or a writer or name it, but it should be in a system that is up to date and that is not linked to our last century. For now, and that is one of those issues that we are trying to tackle. Now, everyone in our society is nearby a creator with all those new technologies. So if my neighbor is asking me when, and I had the experiences myself at a certain moment, I was trying to start, let me use that example. I was trying to start a movement for girls that ICT can be sexy and can be attractive, but then you have to start to take the right levels of the different disciplines, for otherwise you are, when you are 16, you are too late to fill in and so on. So starting that action, there was a great clip, and I don't remember, it was with all girls in pink. Carl, could you give me a hand in what was the clip? It was from someone. Yeah, Girls in Science, but it was someone's ownership. We got permission. No, well, we got permission to use that clip, but there was a song at the back, for it was very, and we didn't. So my people were warning me: if you are using the clip with the song, then you are illegally dealing with. And I said, come on, this is crazy. For it is a clip that needs music, for it was action, all girls, and so on. But I wasn't able to use that song. And it was once in a lifetime, so to say, with that clip. But that are things that we have to deal with. You can't explain to normal people, so to say, that we are not able. And we are not able so far. And the white paper that was promised already years and years ago, and it's not in my portfolio, I have to mention that, but I'm involved in that whole process, and my French colleague is the main responsible commissioner to come with a proposal, but the EDC is making calls every day. So no solution, and then I think that is really a shame. We should tackle the copyright system, for better or for worse, but we should tackle the system. So the one who was asking about copyright, and then of course also the reform regulation that you were touching upon. We have to tackle those issues and make it clear, but connect it with the development of indeed today and tomorrow, and not linked to what is at stake from yesterday.
I have to say, I'm feeling going to feel now really terrible, which is I think we may be out of time for you. Is that right, Carl? I think we are out of time, so you have to now go to, I think, even more, go to the Chancery or whatever. I just want to, so we don't want to kind of hold you up from that, particularly given what a radical you are. I want you in there fighting for these things. So I just want to, So I just want to say that I would like everyone. This has been an incredible privilege, and I think also it's a huge thanks for everything you've been doing. To hear that from the Commissioner, I think as you say, copyright isn't quite right at the moment. It needs some stuff, but I think it's been incredible. I'd like everyone to join me in thanking you. Possibly actually.
But it's even more important, and of course I'm flattered, but it's even more important that we do it together and won't give up. 500 million plus citizens in Europe should be grateful to your action.
million people using the resources, the information resources. And this points to not just the appetite for better informed decision making, but it also points to the fact that we can scale some of the things that all of us in this room are fighting for, where a lot of us are building very meaningful and very important both platforms